Good morning. Hopefully the Texans will get here soon. They wake up late here. Let's go to the next slide, guys. Let's go next. So I want to thank our sponsors, Lit Communities, USI, Available Power, CPS Energy, Tantalus, and Terex, Greater San Marcos Partnership, Clear World, Easy Metering, Texas State University, EveryNet, Grid Monitor, and Sentient Energy. Is this working? Oh, there it is. And I want to thank also the keynotes and moderators and speakers from yesterday. They did a great job, in my opinion, and obviously today, looking forward to it. I didn't do that. the AV guys read my mind. And then, obviously, we have some great logos speaking and keynoting tomorrow as well. So thank them all. And then I want to thank one more time the CMG team for doing their job of putting the thing together. Take a bow, guys. All right. And I want to remind you all of, we have a startup showcase tonight. And we have 8 startups that are doing stuff on infrastructure, water, energy, 3D printing, and all kinds of cool things. So there's going to be a showcase at the end of the day with drinks and food, and they're going to get judged. So it's going to be pretty hot and amazing. So look forward to that tonight. And then remind you of the tours. I don't know how many of you are going to the tours, but the tours are going to be pretty fun. We have 32 labs on campus at Texas State, and then at Cedar we're building 9 living labs. So we're going to show you 4 of the labs, and then you'll get a tour of campus, and you probably on campus get to see about 5 or 6 labs. Certainly not enough time to see 32. But lots of cool things that we can do. And so this is me, and let's keep going. All right, so I want to remind you of the day today real quick. So we have a keynote on patents and trademarks. We have a keynote on crypto mining and ERCOT market. We have a keynote on space and its future. And then we have 3 sessions with keynotes and panels, right? We have the Smart Energy and Utilities keynote, and we have that panel that follows. And then we have a Smart Water and Wastewater keynote and a panel that follows. And then we have a Digital Infrastructure Ecosystem keynote and the panel that follows. And then we have the startup showcase. We eat next door, and all the breaks are next door. We have artists and musicians showcasing their things. And then I wanted to remind you today a little bit about some of the customers that CMG works with. Most notably lately, it's the work that we're doing with Brownsville. And if you were here yesterday, you heard about the city of Brownsville and their broadband project. So CMG is actually the company that created this strategy for the city and the utility on what they're going to do for the next 10 years. And they're trying to basically build the infrastructure to accommodate a growth from 200,000 people to about 1 million people in a 10-year time frame. So pretty aggressive growth. A lot of infrastructure being added on the power, water, and telecom side to enable all that. And then obviously transportation. And then on transportation, it's really important to remind you or highlight to you that, anybody been to Brownsville, Texas? Anybody? Okay. So it's really, it's always been a sleepy town on the border. Not too sleepy because it's 200,000 people, but not a lot of industrial stuff going on, and the Port Authority there is kind of small. Not land-wise, it's actually the largest port authority in the United States, 40,000 acres, but there's not a lot going on yet in that port. And so it has an incredible amount of potential, and that's actually what the whole region is about, is enabling that potential. So they are focused really hard on several things that are actually leverage SpaceX. If you haven't been there, the SpaceX commercial division, if you will, of SpaceX is in Boca Chica, which is a region or a destination nearby Brownsville. It's outside of Brownsville city limits, but it's right next door. And so SpaceX is really building something called Starbase, which is a 4,000-acre property where you can write a check for $1 million to become an astronaut and go to the moon and back. So there's going to be basically a Disney World for grown-ups that want to be astronauts kind of thing. And I think it's going to be fascinating. So that's going to have a tremendous impact, right, in terms of job creation around that, in infrastructure needed for that, including fiber, which is part of the project on the broadband to deliver fiber to SpaceX. And so a lot of things that are going on there in terms of creating a space economy. There's only 2 other cities, maybe a couple more in California, but really, Cape Canaveral in Florida and Houston, right? They have this sort of space economy thing going on. And so Boca Chica is trying to build a similar concept. And so we are helping them with that. And obviously, Brownsville is a founding member of Texas State Cedar. And we're very excited about what they're going to be able to contribute to the consortium in terms of use cases and capabilities and challenges. And then obviously they're looking forward to bringing or having a direct connection to Central Texas, to the corridor between Austin and San Antonio, with all the sort of capabilities that we have in the corridor now with Tesla and Toyota, and then historically, incredible expertise on software and manufacturing and chips and renewable energy, clean tech, and all that stuff. So their membership into Cedar is really in a big way about that, about building that destination relationship, and then on the SpaceX economy, or I'm not done, guys, or the vertical takeoff and landing, or drone economy also. They're very interested in leading that nationwide. So one of the things that the mayor didn't get into yesterday, which I think is going to be really important to understand, is, in a partnership with TxDOT and the FAA, Texas has an opportunity, and Brownsville has an opportunity to really help set the rules of how airspace is going to be managed. Airspace is going to be licensed. So imagine, for example, Domino's and Amazon and UPS and FedEx no longer delivering using trucks, but delivering using drones. And who's going to manage that? And how does that work? And what about the airspace and the air rights? And is that a franchise fee that you pay to whoever owns the air rights? And who owns the air rights over your house? And who owns the air rights on the city? Who manages that? And is it going to be the FAA? Is it going to be somebody else? So that is all at play right now. It's being discussed in Washington, D.C. at an intense level. And the concept, part of the concept is the first phase of all that is going to be around package of goods delivery. And then on the passenger side is going to be about emergency management. So large size drones that can have a emergency management bed and a couple of attendees, EMS helpers on the flight, plus the crew that flies the device, right? Maybe one or two people. So enough room for four people and one laying down injured, kind of thing. So it probably looks like the size of a Prius or a small sedan of sorts. And so there are probably 30 companies in Texas working on this. We know of about 7 of them at the Texas State labs that we're building. And I think it's going to be really amazing when this all starts taking off. So there's a lot of preparing and planning on doing all that. So Brownsville is going to have a significant role to play. And then the other thing to highlight to you and our customers, we have did a lot of work with Liberty Utilities, which is a utility headquartered in Canada, and they have operations in 17 states, and we have been helping them with their smart grid journey. And they're very focused on doing something called non-wires solutions, basically using microgrids and energy storage to augment their grid resiliency instead of adding more wires and more peakers, if you will. So let's go to the next slide. So on Texas Cedar, just a reminder, if you weren't here yesterday, we are building 9 living labs, and that's the focus that you see on the screen: utilities, buildings and infrastructure, energy, water, wastewater, cities, and mobility. And obviously, to enable all that and do good digitalization on it, we are building 3 labs on networks, sensors, data, and software. So, CEDAR is a research and development marketplace consortium. It has 20 members right now. Some of the members are here, and they have a table booth next door. And we are exploring how to work with industry. So we are, offering to the marketplace our labor workforce, which is 1,800 faculty, PhDs, and 38,000 students, in addition to our sort of physical resources, 5,000 acres, campus in Round Rock, campus in San Marcos, and then the 9 labs that I'm building, which will cover roughly 700 acres. So I'm going to tell you about a few of those labs that are relevant to today, to today's talks. So we're building a smart energy lab and a smart utilities lab. This is the detail of the smart energy lab. And let me go back, guys. And so we are about to issue an RFP for a solar developer to build for us a 64 megawatt, that's 64 megawatt solar PV farm. It's going to be at the Mueller Farm, which is 160 acres. So this energy lab and the utilities lab are going to be co-located there. They're roughly together 15,000 square feet of construction. And we just got done actually last week designing all the final details of the lab. So it's going to be a pretty amazing lab that is going to have a range of current and voltage that will go from, did that just break up there? Wow, that's funny. So the lab is going to have high voltage and medium voltage and low voltage. And so you're going to have a DC bus and AC bus, and it has a high bay and a low bay space, and we will do all kinds of things related to, EV charging and solar PV energy storage, fuel cells, and power electronics, R&D, and sort of the new transformer of the future and the new, components of the future, from reclosures to feeders to everything. And then last but not least, we're make a big focus on green hydrogen as a new fuel for transportation primarily, but also for other uses. And so the 64 megawatt is going to be front-ended by about a 40 megawatt combined solution of 3 technologies on energy storage for R&D purposes. It's going to be NREL, if you know of NREL. They're going to be a partner in that. They're very excited about that. NREL itself, which is a magnificent place, if you have been to, only has a 5 megawatt solar farm where they're doing testing in R&D. So they're really excited about joining what we're doing because ours is bigger. And then on the utility side, the R&D there is going to be focused on all the things of managing a real smart grid. So from all the components and elements and the automation of those with telecommunications, broadband technology, both wireless and wired. And you can read a gazillion acronyms there if you know them all. I'll give you a pass for dinner tonight. And the biggest thing about it is really designing what a substation of the future looks like. And how do you really go from electromechanical setup to 100% digital? And then what does that do to the energy control room and the operators managing the grid and the machines really taking over AI, controlling and building a self-healing grid where humans are not longer calling the shots? And then ultimately, what does the switch yard of the future look like? So just to give you a sense for the size of things to come, anybody familiar with the chip manufacturing facility of Samsung here in Austin? Anybody heard of that? So that facility, which I was lucky enough to help design on the electric side, it's a facility that consumes 150 megawatts an hour of power when it's fully running. So the switch yard defeats that, and the power comes at 4 kV into the switch yard, and then it gets stepped down to whatever they need to for different purposes. And so the switch yard is 2 football fields long, 1 football field wide. So if you ever walked a football field, imagine a football field full of all those switches to feed 150 megawatts of production, right? So the next generation equipment is going to shrink dramatically, and we're hoping that that shrinking is going to help with the sizing and the quality of the products. And then we have a water wastewater lab that is coming, and then I'm looking forward to the panel today on water because they're going to talk about some cool things on everything. So now that I've gotten the room to get filled up, it's my honor to introduce to you our keynote speaker from the Patent Trademarks Office, the director of the Texas region, Hope Shimabuku. And if you can please give her a hand for her to come up. We're very lucky to have her. I'm looking forward to her remarks this morning.